In the top left position, we do have a green Zerg. The Grandmaster player, it is TheRipper. And his opponent in the lower right as the pink Protoss, it is NerdFace. And
Nerd.
NerdFace giving a shout out to all the nerds in his class.
There you go. All the nerds in his class. I wonder what his nerdy class was doing for Valentine's Day. And once again, we have a Zerg versus Protoss for the second time now on Ohana, though. So a bit of a different map from Antigua Shipyard. No longer going to focus as much there on establishing the fourth base. Now it's going to be all about these two base timings. The Soul Train type Immortal Sentry push here is so common. And TheRipper going to have to show us just how good his defense might be against that build if we do see it. Phoenix play still strong, but not as common on this map.
Phoenix play indeed is good. The other cool things you can sometimes see on this map is actually a War Prism Sentry drop because of how easily you can get into the main base and get the force field down to block the ramp. But as you quite rightly said, Beef, it's almost certainly going to be an Immortal Sentry all in because it is just a very potent build. And the way you deal with it best on this map is to stop it early on. You want to take the forward watchtower as a Zerg player, identify that the push is coming, and then force and bait the force fields as soon as you can to reduce the energy on those sentries.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing part of that, and I feel bad here. TheRipper asked me to be his NerdFace asked me to be his Valentine up there, and I wanted to respond to him, but I can't because we're observers and not referees. So I'm just leaving him hanging, and that's like actually the worst feeling in the world.
No, you
man.
could send him a private message. You could do.
Oh, I could. I don't know how to do that though. Anyway, we'll talk to him after the game. Hopefully he wins so that he won't be double crushed. He's like, Beef ignored me and I lost the game. We'd have to put him in the sanitarium or something, make sure he doesn't harm himself at that point.
You'd have to buy him some chocolate for Chocolate Day.
There you go. Chocolate Appreciation Day. NerdFace going for the block over here on the Nexus, but Zerglings will drive that off. A total of 4 Zerglings being made rather than the 2 we saw coming out of our Zerg player last game.
And that is in direct response to the fact that it wasn't a Forge Fast expansion out of NerdFace. He's instead going for a 2-gate opening with 2 gas. And both gas geysers do have all 3 probes in there. But the Cybercore gets scouted. The Chrono Boost on the Cybercore is scouted as well by TheRipper. That is very important information for him to really read what's coming. And the only alteration you really need to make to your build here is stick on 2 bases, get your roaches down slightly sooner, and you should be absolutely fine.
So now with the Stargate coming out, I mean, we talked about Phoenix play not being as strong here, but this is a very early Stargate coming out. Do you think this is going to be some kind of a gateway Void Ray push?
That is exactly what I was thinking. I don't think it's going to be Phoenix. It should be a Void Ray. And it is actually a very powerful push if you don't scout that Stargate. But as we can see, we do have Zerglings outside the base. There's no Overlord, though, to the north of NerdFace's base. And as such, getting that Overlord at the bottom down and through could be very tough. But as we saw, the Zerglings are trying to bait their way up. But with the Zealot there, all one needs to do is slip through and see that Stargate, and it would all fall to pieces. But otherwise, TheRipper could potentially be in some problems.
He could be in some trouble indeed. But Phoenixes actually going to start production here. So going to be going with the Phoenixes very quickly, and Zerglings trying to make their way up into the base, but a Stalker and a Zealot going to put an end to that, and NerdFace with his banked up minerals now going to be able to easily take that Nexus. So, Phoenix build off of 1 base here. Very interesting opening coming out of NerdFace.
Yeah, I've got to admit, I was not expecting those Phoenix. I could try and kind of smooth over the fact that I said it would definitely be Void Rays, but this is an interesting dynamic, to be honest, because those Phoenix, how they are used will be very, very interesting to me. But we see for the moment 8 roaches are pushing across the map, and that in itself is going to be quite concerning for NerdFace because he only has 2 Stalkers out for the time being.
Yeah, lots of roaches coming over. The Phoenixes, I mean, they're going to be able to lift up roaches, but the amount of damage they're going to be able to put is pretty minimal. And there's the cancel on the Nexus. Gonna have to warp in a sentry right here and drops a nice force field. Gonna be able to segment off 2 roaches and lifting up one of the zealots, actually. I gotta think that that was actually a misclick right there.
It must have been a misclick, but as we can see, the roaches pushing up. Another force field goes down, but unfortunately the roaches do manage to make up the sentry. It's taking a lot of damage and does get taken down there. So that was a good little win there for the Ripper, who's following this up with drones.
As you follow up anything as a Zerg, you follow it up with more drones. The roaches do actually breach the front door now, and the sentry trying to kite. These last stalkers should be able to deal with this pretty effectively, and yes, with good micro, will not lose. Oh, lost a sentry there at the very end. So with their dying breath, the roaches say, "I'll take you down with me!" And then they fall off the building.
And the important thing there, the important thing is that those sentries died, because that was a lot of gas that was committed. The Phoenix have also been revealed. Spore Crawlers already on their way down. We now have NerdFace getting the Void Ray, getting up 3 additional gateways, going for a 1 base all in now. And all the Ripper really has to do is defend this, and he should be fine, but he's expanding behind it. He's got a very substantial lead in terms of the drone count, and with those Spore Crawlers down, shouldn't have to worry too much about these Phoenix.
Yeah, not gonna have to worry too much about them. Do manage to get 1 drone, it looks like, right there. And, well, trying to lift up the queen. Will be able to take down 1 queen here, most likely. Gonna need... actually, he's not gonna have enough DPS to finish off this queen, yeah. And does not have another lift here for another 0 seconds. So now I'm going to go ahead and lift him on up and finish off that queen.
For another 0 seconds.
Oh,
indeed.
Zergling run by coming in here. And the force field just a little bit too late. The Zergling's going to come on in and do spot the additional gateways. Even going to manage to take down a couple of probes right here. The army a little bit too late to react. The Void Ray even being revealed, and the Ripper should have all the information that he needs and all the time in the world to mount a defense.
Now, the Ripper does have Lair nearly finished up. What I'd like to see chucked down is the Hydrogen. It's the quickest thing to get out. It will absolutely decimate a Skytoss and Gateway force, and therefore, that would probably be the best option. But for the moment, just some Roaches coming out. Roach Speed getting started up as well. The 3rd base is up and running, and all in all, I would say the Ripper, he's fine as long as he deals with those Void Rays.
Indeed, those are going to present a huge portion of the problem, but mass-producing queens right now. This is another way to deal with this. In fact, 3 queens in production, going to bring him up to a total of 6. So with the long range and strong attack against air, those queens going to be able to deal quite effectively with not only the Phoenix, but the Void Rays up there. And with all the Stalkers on the ground, but no blink and no upgrades, Zergling Roaches should deal pretty effectively. And I'm not too concerned about the Ripper upcoming in this fight. Going to try to even get some creep spread so that he can get a little bit better angle of engagement.
Well, as we can see, there is just the 1 Void Ray. There is additional queens coming out already down to 5. They're going to provide the anti-air damage, but with so many Roaches, Roach Speed is just a few seconds away from completion. Another 20 to go, but we do see the NerdFace trying to come up towards the natural. Going to try and get a nice angle. Can he get some force fields? The answer is not enough.
And right now, going to be trying to actually pin the Protoss army in. But a lot of damage being dealt already, and NerdFace falling back. He is down 50 supply at this point. The army supply counts nearly double in favor of the Ripper, and even managed to throw some upgrades in there, getting +1 carapace. The 6 queens now starting to move out across the way, and, well, a Robo is being... It's the follow-up here for our Protoss player. He throws down the Nexus, but the Overlord scouts it. That's going to be the cue for the Ripper to really put the hurt on his opponent and take it to his side of the map.
Unfortunately for NerdFace, he didn't have many other options. He committed so much to that 1 base play that did no damage that he had to try and expand. But we see now the Ripper with just, so many Roaches coming across. The Phoenix still at the natural of the Ripper's base, but with so many Roaches there, the cancel force, we do see creep spread going down at the natural as well to deny it even further. And even if somehow NerdFace can hold off this many Roaches, which the Void Ray will eventually kill, the problem is that that natural is going to be so delayed that it's just serious problems.
And it might not even kill off all the Roaches as queens are coming to join the party. The 6 queen slow pain train marching across the map and going to be able to use their transfusion to knock down everything out of the sky here. And now they're in range, going to start laying down those needles into the Phoenixes. Void Rays and Phoenix will have to retreat. And things are starting to look real bad for NerdFace. 60 drones back at home as opposed to the 28 probes. And, well, now an Immortal going to come out. And an Immortal on the high ground is actually going to provide a huge amount of DPS against this armored composition.
Now, unfortunately for the Ripper, as the creep was receding, he desperately tried to chuck down a creep tumor, but the final patch of creep did fall before the Queens shuffled their way over there. The mass force fielding on the Ram, just trying to buy himself some time, but the Ripper going for the Spire, and that is exactly what you want to be doing in this situation.
Yeah, is he going to transition into Mutalisks? Is that what you're thinking?
He should do. I mean, when your opponent's turtling up on one base, you need to get in there. The ramp isn't the best option. You're better off just going for some air units to try and chuck your way straight through. The other option, of course, is the Ventricle Sax or Nidus. And it looks like the Ripper gonna just stack his deck and get out Ventricle Sax as well, just in case.
Because why not? When you're this far ahead, go for all the options to kill your opponent as you can. And now the Overlord's going to be moving across the map. Kind of funny that he brings out the Overlords from all the way back at his base rather than the one Overlord that's hanging out at the third to drop the additional creep. And uh-oh.
That Overlord's already got a job, though. He's checking to make sure the third...
That's true.
Down. Even with the army and the natural, you need to make sure that third is not taken. But the fourth base is taking a little bit of damage now for the Ripper, and those Zenith Warpins are going to get closed down, but the Void Rays just starting to get to work, and there's no Queens anywhere near, so I think a cancel is going to be forced.
Yeah, it's not the hugest of deals here for the Ripper. He would like to see something in the air that can actually deal with this lone Void Ray that's just causing him so much grief. But actually going to be Mutalisks, 14 Mutalisks on the way.
At the natural base,
yeah.
NerdFace pushing down, but he's pushed back most of those units, but as we can see, he's got 4 creep tumors blocking his natural now.
There we go, and he's going to have to get out the Observer at some point here to clean that one up, but he's actually marching right across the map. Queen's in trouble right here as they're going to encounter some Stalkers. No upgrades on the Stalkers, so a lot of Transfusion's going to come in. And yeah, the Transfuse still keeping these Queens up. It's like the last end of the 300 right here. And Graviton Beam's going to be coming in, lifting up the Queens, but not taking too much damage. And there's the Mutalisk coming in to lay down the DPS onto these Stalkers. And down to 60 supply right now. Our Protoss player retreating, the last Immortal. He's going to be going down, not living up to his name. And the Stalker's being crushed right here. And NerdFace, he is probably making a not so happy face back on Ire.
This is almost certainly going to be GG now. And there we go, NerdFace with the GG. The Ripper GGing back because indeed NerdFace put up a good defense for a long period of time there. But the Ripper just showing some superior macro skills throughout the game. And as such, just had too much stuff come the final.